First, I think it's important that we demonstrate care. And sometimes we can just ask a person how they're doing. It appears that they're struggling. And many times it becomes apparent through job performance. And so as managers, we still have to have high-performing people, but we can demonstrate care to say, hey, how's it going? I see that you seem to be struggling. And sometimes that will open the door for a conversation, and sometimes people aren't willing to share information. But I think having a caring environment, depending on what they're willing to share. If that door opens and they do want to talk about what they're struggling with, working with them to help them seek treatment, just as you would for a physical impairment, a physical injury or illness, and then working with them on accommodation so they can be successful in the position. I find sometimes distractions in the workplace are a big deterrent to someone that is struggling with depression to perform their job well. There's all sorts of low-cost and no-cost solutions to help an employee in that situation. So for example, you may have a more quiet place in the building that they can work. You may have an empty conference room or office that they could use periodically. You might be willing to put partitions in the work area to minimize not only visual distractions, but the noise as well. And something as simple as letting someone wear earphones or a headset to either cancel out noise or minimize the noise by listening to music. So it's all looking at what does this particular employee need to be productive, and then how do we create that environment where they can be productive. I think being able to look at the position and work with managers and say, okay, how can we be flexible? What ways can we enable this person to be successful? So for example, that may be looking at different ways to perform the job, where they perform it, and how they perform the job. So that might include coming in early or staying late. That might include telecommuting. That might include job sharing. That might include a reduced work schedule. There's all types of ways to mold and shape that position so they can be successful. And the whole key that we're looking for here is how do we manipulate the functions of the job a little bit so they are successful, so they can be a contributor to the organization and to the department.
Do you think that the employee seeing this makes it apparent to them that they're important to the organization and might help with the overall anxiety or depression as well, just by the employer being able to work with them?
Absolutely. Some organizations also have EAPs, employee assistance programs, and employee assistance programs provide confidential counseling for the employee that many times is at no charge to the employee or reduced cost. And so when they have different options available to them, it helps them to see the value that they are contributing to the organization. Something else that's really important to keep in mind under the ADA and FMLA is that many times employers will request a medical certification from the treating healthcare provider. And that helps them to identify what time away from work they may need, as well as any accommodations to perform the job. It's really important that information be kept in the strictest of confidence. It's also important that that documentation, along with any other type of medical documents, including doctor's notes, return to work release forms, not be filed in the personnel file. All of those should be stored separately.